Welcome back and happy Wednesday, Squirrel Nation. Today we are going to dive into our community submitted Raz gameplay. Sig is our community member from Brazil and he plays on the Latin American server. He is a diamond player and he is currently in platinum because of season reset. Anyways, let's dive in. So, key things on Raz. Raz is a outstanding assassin. He can absolutely eliminate enemies. He is also quite squishy, so if he gets caught out of position, he is going to be dead. The main things, if I'm Raz, I'm looking for in this game are I need to avoid Alistar's ultimate. If Alistar grabs me and CCs me, I am absolutely dead. And actually, the enemy Wukong needs to be careful of Sig's team's Aram also. So right there was a little thing, if you go back, you can see is Raz was hitting the fist attack instead of minion attack, so he actually dashed towards Alistar instead of dashing to secure the CC. So that's just a minor micro thing. This I love. They invade. Wukong is weak early game, and if he needs to build farm to become an effective jungler. And by stealing his red buff, you have heavily put him back. Unfortunately, Arthur did lose one wave top, but I think it is still absolutely worth it because, like I said, if you put the enemy jungler behind, your team is just much less likely to get ganked and die and give up objectives like Dragon and such. This is an outstanding roam. He cleared wave mid. They came down. They are missing a wave here top, or sorry, mid. I don't like this rotation back by Sigs because he already saw that Arthur was rotating down to clear mid. The minions were also already at his tower by the time he even had the ability to come back. So honestly, he could have stayed down and shadowed the enemy team's Alistar, but you know, it ends up working out. He pushes it into tower. But because of that, his team loses Dragon. So I wish in the future, I think Sigs could put a little more focus on Dragon and not worry about going to clear his lane when his lane is going to be frozen. You know your lane's going to be frozen if the person you are laning against is also gone. So in that case, we knew that Sigs, when he was running back mid, he saw Alistar also rotating bottom towards Dragon because Dragon was about to spawn, so both teams wanted to get positioning on it. But Sigs chose to continue rotating, and then he waited for that wave, right? And then he cleared that wave. The problem was that his team lost the river war for Dragon. So to push that wave into enemy tower, he lost Dragon. So anyways, these are the minor things. The higher you move in the ranks, the more its little things start to magnify themselves, right? It's very minor things that start to punish you the higher you move in the ranks. So, anyways, Raz is moving around the map well. I like it. He's getting pressure. Lindis, something to keep in mind. Lindis is a very strong mid-game jungler. She definitely has an advantage over Wukong mid-game and early game, to be honest. And I would like to see Raz's team taking advantage of that because something that does scare me about the enemy team is they are going to scale very nicely into late game. Yorn will become a beast. Wukong will be able to destroy a double AD carry team and also with Raz. And then Alistar's CC is going to really hurt later on when it's comboed with Yorn and a Wukong diving on the squishies. So anyways, to me, I think that Raz's team needs to get some early game. They kind of need to be keeping pressure and getting value early game. If they lose the early game, I think it's going to be very hard for them to come back in the game. So right now they're roaming that, which is good. You know, they're ending up with positive trades here. Raz, that was a little questionable. He dived in on 4 people, and his Lindis and his Alistar were still quite far away. They were up here in the red when he dived on 4 people solo. So he got away, but he did have to back and waste time to heal. So I think that was probably a questionable play. Anyways, he's pushing mid. But anyways, let's kind of get to the focus of this video. The focus of this video is going to be on adjusting build and that's because I think the biggest flaw I see in Raz's gameplay is he never checks what the enemy is building. He doesn't check their magic resistance, he doesn't check their armor, he doesn't check anything like that, right? When he looks, he simply does a quick peek at their build, and there's just no way that he's figuring out how much magic resist and such they have. Around Diamond, your builds start to matter more heavily because this is where, like we said, little mistakes are what amplify and really carry over. And there's going to be a few points later in this video where I'll show you where different item choices could have led to Raz surviving. But anyways, another theme of this video is going to be the win conditions, right? Win conditions are not as simple. So far we've talked about them as know your win condition in the beginning of the game. But once again, there is an evolution to this. And actually right here, Raz, I really wish would have went in on that. If you notice, he has his ultimate up and he has Flicker. He easily could have ultimated, secured that kill, and then flickered out, right? Or vice versa. He could have honestly just flickered other side of Alistar and used his ultimate to kill Alistar, push him out of tower range, and he would have survived. So anyways, that's something where I wish he was a little bit more aggressive, but minor matter. So sorry, back to your win conditions. Okay, so things that affect your win condition, to me, things that I look for are, I look for the heroes, right? How do they scale? Which ones are going to become strong late? Which ones are going to be strong mid-game? I think about that power curve, okay? But another thing that's equally as important and much more, varies much more from game to game, great jungle steal, is player skill, okay? So we talked about the enemy Wukong and Yorn can become very scary late game, especially against Raz's team because they have double AD carry and they're just going to be very, very squishy. And Aram can only peel one thing. Aram has basically her ultimate to peel. She can do her slow, but it's not going to help that much against a highly mobile Wukong and a Yorn with range when he lands that stun. So you want to look at player skill because just because Yorn and Wukong, especially Yorn's going to become a beast, in this game, the Yorn player is not that great. He gets out of position a lot. He is susceptible to getting picked off. And something I think Sigs does an outstanding job of is he picks on Yorn consistently throughout the game. So this is something people can learn from. Identify, play to the people you are playing, not just the hero. Okay, so once again, the hero Yorn becomes a late game beast. But if you notice that the Yorn player is weak, right? If the Yorn player is not the greatest Yorn ever, then pick on him, right? Don't let him get to late game and be super strong and carry just because his hero is crazy strong late game. If he's a weak player, pick on him the entire time. So anyways, that's one major aspect that I think players overlook when they're thinking about win condition. So to me, the win condition out of that is consistently feed yourself off of Yorn, right? So notice, he does keep targeting Yorn. Yorn just blew his flicker, right? And their team's poking, they're pushing this objective, I like it. Awesome, Aram gets it, bam, double kill, okay? So they are pushing that advantage. If you notice, Sigs has been consistently poking down Yorn, who is a player that's not that strong, he's not dodging, right? He's getting in weird positions. So anyways, another thing about updating your win condition is what objectives are available. Okay, so right now they've pushed all the tier 1 towers are down. They're working on tier 2. They got the Dragon Lane tier 2 tower, right? So to me, yeah, I want to start forcing objectives. Start pressuring the enemy more and more. The name of the game is built map pressure. The more map pressure you build, the more likely your enemies are to make mistakes. So here, I hope their team goes for Dragon, and I'm pretty sure their Lindis does. Yes, the Lindis is starting Dragon. Great call, right? The bottom lane is heavily pushed in. Middle is heavily pushed in. Top is frozen midway, but that's fine. This should be a free Dragon, right? And more lead. There you go. You're building up that lead. So Sigs team is handling this great. One thing about Sigs is, so we're already almost 12 minutes into the game, and he has still not checked once what the enemy's magic resistances are, right? And as a Raz, the reason that that's so important is because Raz must be able to burst. He must be able to kill the squishies on the enemy team very quickly. He needs to be able to kill Wukong. He needs to be able to kill Yorn, right? He needs to be able to just annihilate them before they can do anything. But right now, he's lucky that they're building no resistance, right? So Wukong, you can basically tell when he gets hit, he's not building the resistance, and same with Yorn. But to me, that's more of something Siggs is getting lucky about, rather than it's something that's consistently going to happen for him. So once again, picking on Yorn, right? This, I like. He kills both the enemy team's major carries, right? Their major damage carries in this game are Yorn and Wukong. He kills both of them. He dies. I'm totally happy with that. That was great aggression. And I would have loved to see it when he had that Alistar, to be honest. Because if he would have that same level of aggression, he would have killed Alistar and gotten out. So anyways, on to the, back to updating your win condition. I'm looking at this game and I'm evaluating right now, how do I want to end the game, okay? Mid lane is pushed in. I want to probably get Darkslayer, so I want to push bottom, right? My objective is, in my head, I'm thinking, if we get Darkslayer, we're going to win. So how do I get that? Then I say to myself, okay, well, I want to build map pressure on all lanes. So I want to push bottom, I want to push mid, I want to push top, and then I want to grab this Darkslayer, right? Another option would be I want to set up an ambush and grab their team while they're rotating, get a man advantage, and then win. Once again, Yorn positioning, not great, right? And I love it. Siggs takes advantage of it. He hops in there right away, assassinates Yorn, wham bam. I'm going to pause here to discuss a build. So Raz just sold his Phoenix tier, okay? I'm okay with selling your Phoenix tier to build a 6th item, but if you notice here, he right now has the, I forget what it's called, but the mask for the Magic Pen mask, which upgrades into Staff of Null. If you are going to notice, Raz is going to upgrade into Staff of Null. So he didn't need the space. The Staff of Null will take this space. So he just sold Phoenix tier, which is losing him stats, right? And he's essentially giving up gold, because when you sell something, you only get 60% of the value that you originally paid for it. So right here, Siggs is actually hurting himself to me for no reason. If he was going to build a different 6 items, like Rhea's, then it would make sense that he was clearing space. But actually, he made space that he didn't need. So, and he may have been doing it so that he can get into Staff of Null quickly, like you notice, right? So it was very quickly, maybe he just wanted to buy that. The reason I don't like that is, again, he hasn't even checked once what the enemy's resistances are, right? Like, without knowing those resistances, I don't even know why you're rushing Staff of Null, because how do you know that you couldn't just use Soaring Aura? Okay? Raz is not going to try, he's not like the other mages. He's not trying to AoE damage the whole team. He's trying to assassinate very key enemy targets, which are their squishies, right? So if they have less than 375 magic resistance, why not pick up Soaring Aura? You're going to have more magic penetration, and you're going to have 1,000 extra health to get in there, assassinate them, and get out, right? And these are those little things you need to start thinking about the more and more you move up the ranks. It's little item choices like this that can affect. Okay, I like this. They get the Darkslayer like we talked about, which is awesome, right? And they're pushing their advantage. Again, Siggs, they're taking advantage of this Yorn. I love it. They find him. They go for it. Great swiping right here. He's checking, right? I love that he did not dive in this way and he actually came around because he saw, because Siggs was swiping, he noticed that Alistar was going to mid-bush, and he went there instead. So right here, let's pause. Okay? What ends up happening is Wukong and Raz kill each other. They both die. Okay? And let's go back to our item choice we talked about. So we know that he rushed Staff of Null. And I highly suspect, from how much damage from this Wukong, I suspect that he has very little magic resistance, right? I think he might have like 200 magic resistance. So if instead of getting Staff of Null, if Raz would have went into, let's say, Soaring Aura, or he already had the Spooky Mask, there we go is what it's called, he already had that, he already had enough pen, say he would have just started building Rhea's, so he would have bought the Lifesteal. But moral of the story, let's just say he would have got an item that gives him a little more survivability, whether it be health or lifesteal. Then he would not have died here. Him and Wukong would not have traded death for death. Raz would have had a little bit of health and he would have got away. What if he would have went for Arctic Orb? Arctic Orb would have gave him a big outplay of an assassin. So all assassins rely on Heavy Burst. Arctic Orb is a great counter to Heavy Burst because you simply need to time out when the burst is coming and dodge it, okay? Assassins are going to have their cooldown, the cooldowns will matter, right? So if they blow their burst, you Arctic Orb it, they're basically doing nothing to you until their cooldowns come back off, and by that time you should be able to kill them or they're going to have to run away because assassins are also very squishy. So anyways, this is what I mean by the build. You need to adjust it. You need to be thinking what it is you're worried about, right? Who's fed, who's skilled, and adjust your item builds to those players. And in this case, you also need to gather the appropriate information to make these decisions. So any mage should always be checking magic resistance, right? They need to be checking magic resistance to make the proper item choices. Same thing for marksmen. Marksmen need to be checking armor. Actually, same for essentially everybody except support needs to be checking either the armor or the magic resistance, whatever their source of damage is, because if they're not checking those things, they cannot possibly know what item they should buy. Okay, anyways, Darkslayer was wasted by Lindis, but not a big deal. They're getting Dragon here, so that's good. Once again, back to the win conditions. You see bottom and top lane are pretty close to pushed in. Raz is going to push this. His team is fighting. I think this is okay. In general, you kind of have to have certain faith with your team, and this is something like we talked about. You need to adapt to your players. Your team has been being smart. They've been taking good fights, right? So to me, they earn my trust. I can trust my team to make the smart play, so on Raz, I'm okay going to clear wave away from my team. But let's say you got one of those teams that are absolutely taking terrible fights. They're taking team fights when they're down. They're taking team fights when they have the advantage and they're still dying, right? Then I will not split away from them. And I know this sounds very hard. Let me just pause. I know that sounds very subjective, but that is truly a skill, and I think this skill matters the most if you're going from Diamond to Masters level, is learning to adapt to the players on your team, right? So once again, to explain is, Raz split off, and I will just go to the point in the video. Okay. So Raz, if you notice, this team fight's coming. Raz came over here to push this bottom lane into the tower, right? And my whole purpose is here now is their team started fighting, and before nobody was dead, right? So it was going to be 4v5, 4 on Raz's team versus the 5 of the enemies while Raz split pushes. The reason it was okay what Raz did is because his teammates have done the right thing all game. They have been taking better fights. They've been trading well since heavy team fighting happened, right? That's why they have the kill lead. But let's say Raz was on a team, he was on the enemy team. Him coming to split push top or bottom while his team took a fight would be highly unadvisable because they've proven to be taking poor fights. They've proven that they're not capable of winning without him. So in this case, Sigs does make the right decision, but for all of you out there, it is important that you're always adapting. There's no one answer that will always be the right answer. Anyways, I hope today's video was helpful. If you enjoyed today's content and you enjoyed the topic, please let me know down below in the comments. And as always, please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. It means the world to me. It just energizes me and motivates me to drive on. Final note, anybody looking for a great community, answer your questions, review your gameplay, and just kind of keep a nice, positive, friendly environment for AOV grind, then please join Squirrel Nation Discord, which is in the links below. Anyways, have a great day, and as always, happy ranking.